Hello students, and welcome to your first video tutorial. I'm Mr. Coppersmith, but you knew that already. Okay, so we're just gonna dive right in and get started here. So what we're doing today is making a grid on our 16 by 22 inch piece of paper. And since we're gonna be doing portraits, we're gonna be scaling it up times 2. I'll get to all of that in a minute though. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about that a lot of you do wrong all the time. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. When you use the ruler, make sure that you are measuring from this first mark here. A lot of kids measure from the very end of the ruler, but that's wrong because this is where 0 is, and then 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1 inch, and so on. Okay, so we're going to be making a grid, 2-inch lines. So we're going to make 2 sets of marks. We're going to do our first one at the bottom. Now you're going to have a yardstick when you do yours, so that's better than what I have. I just have a standard ruler, so it'll be good to have a longer one. I do not have a yardstick at home though. So remember, starting on this first line here, not on the end of the ruler. So line it up at the edge of the paper and make a mark every 2 inches. So your first mark will be at 2, second one at 4, 6, 8, so on. Okay, so I'm just going to move mine up a little bit here so we can do the rest. Okay, so we'll stop right there. And now this is an important part. If you only do this set of marks, your lines will be crooked when you draw them in when you do your lines this way. So we're going to do another set of marks towards the top. So same thing, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then finish it off. 2 inches between them, just like that. Okay, so now we're ready to actually draw the lines. And again, I don't have a yardstick, so I'm going to be using this tape measure, which is not as easy to draw the lines, but it does work. Your yardstick will be much better and easier to control. So just make sure you're lining up your yardstick with the notches. So one down here and then one up here. They're both at 2 inches. Make sure it's lined up, double check. Looks good. And we can draw a line. Might not be the prettiest one again since I'm using this tape measure, but yours will be a lot cleaner. I want you to take your time with this too. It's not something to be rushed because you will be graded on the accuracy of your grid. So if your lines are crooked, if they're off, if they're not measured properly, that is going to be a problem. Don't dig yourself into that hole, kids. Don't want that. So I hope y'all had a good weekend. I had a pretty good one. It is currently Sunday night. Here I am in my apartment, just drawing some lines, making this grid. Okay, so just make sure we're keeping our line straight. Should be good. A little bit of a stutter there, I don't like that. There we go. Okay, almost done with the first side. Let's see, didn't really make that all the way down. And I would be using a straight edge for that instead of freehanding it like I just did. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just gonna get it done. Okay, so we've got our first set of vertical lines. Now you're gonna repeat the process going horizontal as well. So do the same exact thing, just flip it this way, 2-inch marks again, and do it horizontally. So when you're done with the big sheet of paper, you can move on to your source image, and that's who you're actually doing the portrait of. And this is who I'm doing my portrait of. His name is Moses, and he is a janitor at Bayview. So he's the one who cleans up all of your Takis and hot Cheetos that you drop on the ground. He keeps the school looking beautiful. So we owe a lot to Moses. Everybody say thank you, Moses. Okay, so we're gonna actually do something with this picture before we do the lines on it. We're gonna cut it down to 8 inches exactly. So it's at 8.5 wide right now and 11 tall, but we're gonna shave off a 1/4 inch on each side. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that 1/4 inch. It's actually nice because that takes off that ugly white border, right? So you guys can actually cut yours. You know what? Let me get my scissors. I'll be right back. You guys can cut yours with the paper cutter, though. It'd be a lot easier than having to use scissors, but that's what I'm going to use right now since I don't have a paper cutter at my house. So take off a 1/4 inch on each side. Same concept with the marks on the bottom and top, so you can line it up. Draw your line. And actually, you don't even really, I'm just realizing this, you don't even need to draw a line because you could just follow that edge there and cut these white borders off. So the reason I'm cutting it down to 8 is because since we're scaling this drawing up by 2, so we're multiplying the size of it by 2, I'm scaling it up, so it's 8 inches wide, and the paper we just did, the bigger one, is 16, so 8 times 2 is 16, and then it's 11 inches high, and the paper would be 22 inches high, so it's twice as big. Alright, so we're ready to do the grid on this one now too. So I'll zoom in a little tiny bit. There we go. Such a courageous expression on Moses' face. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to go in with our ruler. Same concept. Remember to measure from that line. Not that one. That's the one. Okay, so only thing that's different this time, and you got to remember this, is you're doing 1 inch squares this time. So this is a 1 inch grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then just move it on up, measuring from the line. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then going in and drawing our lines. Same exact concept as the bigger one, only smaller. So these are 1 inch and that one's 2 inch. Now the reason we do this grid method is because basically what you're doing is breaking your drawing down into smaller, more manageable sections. So instead of tackling the whole thing at once, which is really hard, that's what makes portraits so hard, is trying to capture all of this, you know? Instead of doing it all at once, you can break it down into squares and do just one at a time. So, and you get a lot better representation of the person. It'll end up looking a lot more like them, like the person that you picked to draw. Okay, so, oh, that was a little crooked, I don't like that. Let's straighten that out better. Okay, so now we are good. We, you know, have it lengthwise, and then we just got to do it horizontally. But like I said, I'm not going to show you guys that whole step because I think you can figure it out yourselves. All right, thanks for watching your very first Copperclip. Have fun drawing.